I lived in New York. As you know, as a writer, you're not making much money. So I was like looking for any kind of freelance job I could find. My ghostwriting was with a company called 17th Street Productions. They became Alloy. And I just bothered them because I knew that they were looking for ghostwriters for fiction projects. And I knew that Alloy, I knew that they were a packager. So they had these big book series that they sold to publishers, and they needed people to write them. And I wanted to be one of those people. So I bothered them and finally crashed a Christmas party, kind of said, you should give me a try. And, it was super annoying. It was 2001 or something. I was 24 and didn't know that I shouldn't do that maybe, but I don't know. I guess it was good that I did, because then they gave me a try. And I ended up writing all kinds of books, kind of whatever they threw at me. It was a great learning experience because I had to learn on my feet how to write a book start to finish, how to plot, how to do dialogue, how to, work on a deadline, how to revise, all of those things. After a while, they reached out to me and said, would you like to write something under your own name? And I was like, oh, okay. And that's kind of where Pretty Little Liars came from. It was about 2004. And it was not all at once that I came up with the concept. I think I came up with I want to do a mystery about maybe somebody watching people or stalking people. And it happened that this was the time when text messaging, instant message, communicating over the internet, not face to face, not even over the phone, anonymous watching was becoming kind of more popular. So it kind of worked out, these kids cyberbullying, these kids bothering each other through the safety of their computer or their phone or whatever. So that kind of was the first step. And then thinking about the characters, the idea of took, and I think it was talking with editors and things like that, but it was shortly after that, I would say. I mean, it kind of went hand in hand in sort of, I want to write a mystery, but yeah, it was kind of like this anonymous, I mean, A equals anonymous. I mean, that's not what A stands for, but yeah, it was this sort of idea that there is somebody watching on the other side of it, and you have no idea who it is. And that's kind of every kid's fear, and kind of still is every kid's fear, everybody's fear. So I would say it was sort of shortly after conceiving the original idea, but the idea did not come to me all at once. The four characters actually, and this is, I guess, advice to writers starting out, is use who you know or what you know. They were all versions of me, which sounds really narcissistic. They were all versions of me through various points of high school, because I sort of went through the gamut of high school. Hannah was me kind of in junior high, where I cared a lot. I cared about what people thought of me. I cared about what I wore. I cared about who I hung around with. I cared about, Hannah cares about using the right sort of phone, or saying that just any, very, very obsessive about that kind of thing. But I grew out of that. And then I sort of became Emily, who was very much into her individual friendships. She was a swimmer. I was a swimmer. And didn't necessarily care what people thought, but was going through sort of a transition period of who am I? What do I want? What kind of person am I? Who are my friends? And I was that person eighth, ninth grade, I would say. Then I turned into Aria, who is this artsy, I'm going to live in Europe. I'm going to be a writer. I'm so tired of my high school. It's so provincial. That was me sort of towards the end of high school. But I feel like that, and then Spencer, I was always sort of Spencer. She's very type A. She wants to do well in school, very driven. And she was also based on my best friend a little bit too. So that's kind of where I came to those characters. But I also thought about some big issues that they were going through, that I thought readers would relate to, and that didn't necessarily have a lot to do with maybe stuff that I had gone through, or maybe it did, but, things that having been a teen girl, I knew teen girls dealt with. Hannah, for instance, had disordered eating. Emily is not sure if she's gay or not. Spencer has a lot of like issues with her family and sibling stuff going on. Aria is also sort of having issues with her family, and is also just, kind of figuring out who she is. And she has the issue of like not giving people a chance because she's so over everybody and she's so cool. But like, so I used myself, but I also used what I thought, I really thought about what these characters wanted and how they could be lovable, but also really relatable. One of my favorite moments was getting that call saying that the publisher wanted the books, because it was truly life-changing. I mean, it meant I could quit the job that I didn't really want to be in anymore. I was getting really tired of New York. So I was like, oh, I don't have to live in New York anymore. Or I could take a break from New York. So that felt like a really huge moment. I loved seeing my books in the bookstore. I loved seeing the one in the bookstore, but it was really nerve-wracking too, because there's always, as an author, it's like, is anybody going to pick this up? Like, there's so many books here, That was another thing where that call came out of the blue, that there was a pilot. I mean, it was sort of, I'd heard that there was maybe some development, and then I learned that development doesn't really mean anything, and it sort of takes a really long time, things to develop. So I just didn't think about it for a while and didn't care, just wanted to write books. And so when I got a call that there was not only a pilot, but a pilot that ABC Family, that's what they were called at the time, had purchased, or they were going to film the pilot, it was kind of like, I was not connected to any of that. So that was super exciting. But also a little scary, because it's your book and somebody is taking that and adapting it and putting their spin on it. Though I was really happy with everything that they did. They really just like stayed very true to the spirit of the books and like the tone. And I mean, certainly the characters and the plot and all of that. So it was very, I still can't, it's still hard to imagine that this has happened. But it was really great seeing, going to LA and going to the Warner Brothers lot and seeing Rosewood, in the back lot, just the Rosewood High School and the Rosewood Courthouse and this is Aria's house and this is Spencer. It was just hard to imagine. It's still hard to imagine. It is a great privilege that it happened, for sure. Well, I always want to revisit the characters. If I could continue to write Pretty Little Liars books. I mean, after spending that many books with characters, you feel like they are your friends and you know what they're going to do. And you sort of know what they want, even as they grow up. And that was fun, because in The Liars, they have grown up a little bit. They are in their 30s. They are dealing with more adult problems, but not really, because they're carrying their baggage with them. All the, the things that the insecurities that they had in childhood have, kind of come with them. So I will always, I love writing about them. I would continue writing about them. So Nowhere Like Home is my newest novel. It is coming out February, I want to say 20th. I think that's a Tuesday. And this book it sort of is on that. It is a little bit, I would say, trying to think of the balance of serious, funny. It's pretty serious, pretty thrilling, but it has its sort of ridiculous moments of kind of what is happening here. Basically, it is about a young mother who is approached by her old friend. They have some history. They had a falling out. It's a very mysterious falling out. She has a lot of a big backstory, to come with her for a little while to this community in the wilds of Arizona, Tucson, Arizona, out in the desert, where it is a community of mothers, and it's mothers supporting one another. And, it's a break from life, and they're self-sustaining, and it's relaxing. And, you need a break from your child, whether it's all these babysitters, they can help you. And she's sort of having a hard time transitioning into being a parent. And, she wants to reconnect with this friend, even though they sort of have these secrets, and there's a lot unspoken between them. So she decides to go. But when she gets there, she sort of realizes it's not what she expected, and something in her past is suddenly kind of thrust in her face. And it's this very piecing together of people's stories, and kind of a very mysterious backstory that kind of comes together at this strange community, sort of hippie community in the desert. So it was a really, I think the setting is a lot of fun. The lead character is named Lena, and her old best friend is named Rhiannon. And then there is another character that I follow called Sadie. And, their sort of lives fit together in a strange sort of way. But then there's all these characters at this community who are mysterious and shifty in some sort of way. And I did a lot of research about, communities and how, they seem like utopias, and some of them maybe are. But one thing that I kept taking away from like Reddit threads and things like that is that a lot of people are running from things that come to these. And what we realize is that a lot of the characters that have come to this are also running from things, and sometimes big things, sometimes small things, but they have not left their baggage behind. Their baggage has come with them. And yeah, it's kind of like this strange little social experiment in the desert, and it's an interesting setting, and they're very cut off from society. It's very spooky. I lived in Arizona for a little while. It is very desolate. It is very quiet. So yeah, it was a fun, I think there's a lot of twists and turns. And I think it's a fun thrill ride.